Hi, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're watching this from. Um, if you just stumbled upon this video, this is a GoPro series based on 7 steps to becoming a network marketing professional. And this is the third skill. You need skills like any other profession, and network marketing isn't any different than the skills needed for carpentry, being a doctor, lawyer, or dentist, any one of those professions. So this is presenting your product or opportunity to your prospects. All right. So we've already talked about the first 2 skills, which is identifying the prospects and inviting them to learn more about your product or opportunity. Okay. As you've been yes, you've learned. You've been, you'll be inviting them to review your tool or attend some sort of event. And if they are reviewing a tool by themselves and you're not there, there's nothing you can do. Just to follow up when you said you would, if you're physically with them, there are some things you need to understand. And one of the biggest is you. You are not the issue. This is a tough one, and it's a tough one for everybody. That a lot of people don't want to accept it. But when I first got into, and started, I read everything. I could, listen to everything. I, could attend all the trainings, do everything I could, and thought, basically that the most important thing I could do was become an expert at all the facts associated with my company. So anyone who asked me questions, I'd be right there to answer, sound logic, do the answers. You're the one to answer, man. You're the one to answer everything. You have all the answers for everybody. And it sounds logical, right? I would sit down and say, let me tell you all about the product. Let me tell you all about the company. Let me tell you all about the compensation plan. Let me tell you all about the incredible support system we have. There's a big problem with this approach. If you approach it that way, if you want to build a large and successful organization, all right, for me, the first problem was no matter how much I learned, there would be always that person that had one question that could stump me. And since I was presenting myself as the expert, I got stumped. That might make the prospect question the whole opportunity. The second problem was most of my prospects knew I wasn't an expert. So when I came to them, and presented myself as an authority figure, they knew I wasn't, or it wasn't true. It actually made them more skeptical. Okay. The third problem was even if I, even if I was successful at becoming an expert, okay, the other distributors in the organization didn't necessarily have that same desire or willingness to learn. Do you ever think like that? As a result, I was the go-to guy for every single presentation. With this approach and without duplication, network marketing is just another job. And in the early days, that's what network marketing was to me. It was a job. I had no duplication because I made myself the issue, but I was determined and started to observe and take careful note on how the most successful distributors did their presentations. The pros never made themselves the issue. More than that, they never presented themselves as the expert. Okay? They acted as a consultant who connected the prospect to tools, events, or other distributors to help them become educated. If the prospect asked a question, they would guide them to the answer, but they wouldn't give the answer directly. This baffled me until I started to comprehend duplication. The pros knew they could sign the person up by dazzling them with their knowledge and expertise and experience, but they also knew it would take a long time for their new distributors to do the same. So they came up with a simpler approach. It was around this time I heard a concept that stuck with me ever since, and that was, in network marketing, it doesn't matter what works. It only matters what duplicates. If you can't duplicate, it's going nowhere. This should be the guiding principle for every network marketing professional. The pros use tools instead of their own wisdom. The pros use live events instead of their own presentations. The pros use other distributors to give the facts instead of giving them themselves. The pros don't present themselves as experts. They just invite people to learn more about the product or opportunity. They let the third party resource provide the information. The pros bring passion, enthusiasm, and excitement and belief. If you ever watch a pro work, you'll see a fire in them that is contagious. Make passion, enthusiasm, and excitement and belief your priority, then invite professionally and let the third party resource do the rest. In addition to learning how to effectively present your product or opportunity during your personal recruiting efforts, it's also important to learn how to present your opportunity to groups of people. I've heard it said, and I think it's true, the person with the marker makes the money. In other words, the person in the front of the room giving the presentation usually has a higher than average, income. When I first got started, I was deathly afraid of speaking in front of people, but I was ambitious, and since everyone said this was an important skill to learn, I was determined to master it. I started by learning how to give short and effective emotional learning to learned how to give effective testimonials. Giving your testimonial, it's basically your why. Why are you in this? and what was the reason you got into it, and then where were you before this, what's your name, what's your background, what do you do, and why you got into this. They said if your why is not big enough, then you'll leave, you'll quit, never come back. I promise you, if your why isn't big enough. Why are you doing it? If you can't answer that question as to why you're doing it, then you're never going to make it work. I started by learning how to give short, effective testimonials. Learning to tell my story was extremely valuable in building me a business, and has been to this day, and will be until the day you die. Your story. People aren't interested in how much you know, but they are interested in your story. As long as you don't bore them to death with it. I worked on my story for a while, and after tweaking it for some time or two, here's what I came up with. Well, my name is Stephen Kotwicki. I'm a carpenter by trade. I got into network marketing because I didn't want to do construction all my life. And when I found the Shining Stars, man, I knew it was it, and I wasn't going to leave it, and I knew it was an opportunity. It was the vehicle to get me to where I was going to go, and I'm here to stay. And thank you very much. I mean, this is kind of the story, you know. I've helped a lot of people in the Shining Stars, and I think it's the greatest thing since life's bread, basically, is what I think. I think it's a great opportunity. I don't think there's anything else here out here. Grace is the company that you want to be involved with, because it's going to go places. You know, this kind of thing. You just got to tell your story. What is your story? What is your why? And why are you here? And what is the reason you got involved? If you got involved because you didn't need to do anything, well, I think you got the wrong information. Because not to do nothing, to just sit, is that realistic? Is that real? If everybody just sits and does nothing and don't invite anybody, do you think it's going to grow? I don't think so. I don't think so. You know? And I know so. It won't, you know? So you got to tell your background, the things you didn't like about your background, how network marketing or the company, you know, that you're in came to the rescue. How did they come to the rescue? And your results. How do you feel about your future with the company you're with? Take some time to create your story and start telling it to everyone, you know, every chance you can get. Next, I decided to master my company's opportunity presentation. You don't really need to do that, because you're going to use a tool to do that. I think is the best thing you can do, rather than you do it. And it's great if you want to do that, but I think it's better to let them view a presentation rather than you doing it for them, because they're thinking up there, can I really do what he's doing up there or she's doing up there? And you know what they're going to say? I can't do it. I'm not going to do it. So it's going to be harder for you to do. So learn your story. You could learn the presentation just by watching them being done. And then you just practice it, and you just practice makes perfect. You know, perfect practice makes perfect. Okay. So anyway, to summarize this, one is when you are prospecting, you are the messenger, not the message. Just remember that. Get yourself out of the way and use third-party tools. Okay. 2, learn to tell your story in a way that will make your prospect curious to want to know more or hear more about it. And 3, when it comes to presenting in front of a group of people, preparation is the key. When you're prepared, it's fun. So basically, that's it. You know, just, you know, keep hopefully you'll keep coming back and going through these series that will help you to build a strong, duplicatable, network marketing company that you're involved with. It will help you. And so anyway, I just want to thank you. Please like, follow, comment, share for more, and help my algorithm to get out there so people will see me. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye for now.